in the way that Iran is governed anymore. That's not actually there. It's all back to nuclear enrichment and ballistic missiles and that sort of thing, the sort of thing that the Iranians were prepared to make significant concessions about before the war started. It's an attempt to go
whatever you do,
to that scenario.
don't mention the war,
which is becoming increasingly imperative because of the crisis in the energy system, the hope that a ceasefire will lead to an opening of the Strait of Hormuz. It will give the US some time to restock its missile arsenal and to prepare for the next round. They're talking about a 1-month ceasefire. But at the same time, since they know by now that the Iranians are not going to agree to any of this, they have to try and escalate the pressure. And so we have the deployments of the 82nd Airborne Division, the talk of crushing blows against the Iranians, the seizure of islands in the Persian Gulf, in the Strait of Hormuz, all of that. So everything contradicts everything else. Everything is in chaos. The Iranians, for the moment.
So, Julius, you have 18,000 shares, or that's $18,000? Either way, it's great. We are bleeding. Railtown, 18,582,014 shares. 18,582,014 shares. Railtown, 18,582,014 shares. That's you guys. You're amazing. It's like that guy on YouTube. Amazing. You're amazing. All right. All right. That's what they used to say in Richmond. All right. All right. All right. Here we are, Thursday. We've got Friday. We've got Monday. And we've got Tuesday, I think. Could be longer, obviously. Could be longer. We've got tomorrow. Why don't you stay? I can't do anything about that. So I'm sorry. If it's distracting, it's not bleeding anymore. Okay, shares. That's awesome. Julius, that's awesome. That is awesome. I'm going to, I think, I'm going to really get you excited today. I think. I'm going to show you a presentation which has never been presented to me, so it's got to be my own words. But it's okay to share. I've been told. I got permission. Scott Scheller, we're simply amazing. Amazing. Beta. Not you. God, 1968. What were your parents thinking about? Vietnam, flower power, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Bobby, peace talks. Trying to remember, I think 68 was an election year. So that was Johnson. That's when Johnson, I think, withdrew. I do not intend to run, nor will I accept. And that's when we got Nixon, I guess. 68 and 72. Well, what were your parents thinking of? Just kidding. Julius, that's great. That's awesome. Hey, Steve. Hi, Uncle Bill. Fast Eddie's here. How do? Welcome. Yeah, we got it down as shares. Scott Scheller. We have to. We are simply amazing. Amazing. You're better than all the rest. Hi, Donna says hello, William, and everyone. Hi, William and RT crew. Hello. Yeah, JFK was killed in 63 or 63, I think. November of 63. So maybe that's what they were thinking about when they got married. Chestnut, Utah. What's a Ute? What's a Ute? What's a Ute? Welcome. All right, so I've decided to show you a presentation because I asked, and it's free to share around. So I'm going to show you a presentation. I have not had it presented to me. So it's my interpretation of the presentation that I'm going to talk about. But I think you are going to be so excited by what you own that you're going to wonder why didn't you save all that money from all those other trades? That's what I'm thinking. I wish I had a position as big as Steve's. I used to be able to do that kind of thing like Steve's doing. But what's my sense of timing? I really don't know. Obviously, it's not a first quarter thing. But it's a little bit like you heard about Keith Richards and Mick Jagger. Most of you know who they are. Keith Richards, Mick Jagger, and Paul McCartney are going to get together with who's still alive. Maybe Ringo Starr or something. And they're going to do a charity. They're all in New York. And they're going to do it at maybe Carnegie Hall on an off night, the night the stage is black, where the theater is dark. And they're not telling anybody, but you've been told there's going to be a 1 hour opportunity. There's going to be an announcement, and it's going to be given out to the city and New Jersey on the airwaves to buy tickets. But you and several other people who work for the charity, you're friends of the charity, you're lovers of the charity, you're donors to the charity, you've been given information ahead of time. You expect there to be a sellout, at least among the baby boomers, and you get there early. But you're told not really to talk about it too much. You can tell some people, but the ticket window isn't open for buying, but you get this advance notice and you get, I don't know how to make the analogy work, but you get a discounted ticket or a face value ticket, and the money goes to the charity. But because of the hard work of either your friends or yourself, you get a first crack at it. You have knowledge that the Rolling Stones, the living Rolling Stones and the living Beatles are all going to gather at Carnegie Hall on the day the theater goes dark. And in order to save your place, you go early to get your seat, and you can pick your seat. You're not sure maybe when to show up. You're not sure what day. And maybe you got there, maybe, see, I don't know how the theater works up there, but maybe you got there on Sunday and it turns out they're coming on Monday or they're coming on Tuesday. But you keep your seats. They're still coming. But you're waiting for the ticket window, the announcement that tickets sell out, and then the concert starts. Or to use the train analogy, there's one train leaving where do you want to go on a train? I don't know where anybody wants to go on a train, but maybe there's one train leaving from Miami, invited to Mar-a-Lago or something, and you're there early. Same thing. You have awareness, you get there early, and oh shoot, you gotta wait. But it's still leaving the station. You just had to wait. So I think, be thankful. Be thankful, because I was looking at the list. Look, some people have 1,000 shares. Some people have a lot more. But I was looking at the list. It's amazing what people have bought. It's just incredible. All right, so let me take this off. And I guess I'll reiterate just a simple strategy, a very simple strategy. I'm gonna do it quickly. I don't want to get buried in it. But if you sit down and calculate that you lost in Finger, you lost in on Jeopardy, you lost in GTII, you lost in ZJYL, you lost in GDC, you lost in MNTLP, you lost in MMAT, and you still want to blame somebody else and be a victim, well, go enjoy that. But if you want to say, you know, I learned that this market has been entirely rigged by shady lawyers, corrupt hedge funds, the very brokerage firms I deal with, and pools of money, Congress, they're all in on it because it's trillions of dollars, and you've learned that here. You've learned that here. The toad. You can go to marketfrauds.to. This is just one of the clearinghouses in Europe, of which there are many. And it's 1 year. It's 2022. Fails to report. Failure to deliver. Number of settlement fails. 13,249,000. Value of in the euro of the settlement fails. $27 trillion. $27 trillion. failure to deliver cash, $2 trillion. Total settlement failures due to lack of securities or lack of cash, $29 trillion. 1 year. Over 27.5 trillion in failing trades in Europe in 2022. Remember how difficult it is to short European stocks. A high percentage of this is North American companies. Why is this not front page news? Because people blame, oh, there's the skimpster. Always pointing the other direction than what it actually is. Investors and pension funds are being robbed on a daily basis, and there's nothing stopping the endless pillaging of North American markets by our own funds. By our own funds. SAC, Stevie Cohen, Goldman Sachs. Anyway, so you know this happens. That's what's happened. You think it's a fair market. You think you get a tip on Twitter, and you think that's going to make you money because it did with AME and GMC, but you didn't get out, proving that you don't know how to trade. And I'm not making fun of you. I'm not making fun of you. These big institutional traders, they trade. I don't know how they trade in their own accounts, but when they're on the desk trading or on the clock, they've got to be in and out. They're highly leveraged. They're being paid by the week or the month or the day. They're being tracked. It's a different game. You're not doing that. And they always know another train is coming. So if they trade one stock and they, like GDC or G-Bucks is, I think, was the one. You get in at 70 cents and you get out at $7, but it goes to 12. They're not bemoaning 12. They just, hey, I got out. I kept that money. Now I can do the next train I can get on, and the next one and the next one. But you don't think that way. I don't either. You don't have the sophisticated computers. You don't have people calling up and saying, hey, we're getting ready to sell. You don't have the armor on to take some bruises. Most of you have the attitude, I'm not going to take a loss in this stock. It's all about making money. It doesn't matter which stock you're in. So anyway, a simple strategy that I'm advocating: if you lost in MMTLP, if you lost in Finger, if you lost in MMAT, and you lost in MULN, and you lost in NextTrip, and you lost in Logic, and you lost in CRTD, and you lost in GTII, and you lost in AME and GMC, and you lost in add it all up. And you come up with a number. And be honest with yourself. I lost $500,000. I'm responsible. I'm not a victim. I learned why. I learned why it happens. But now I know of a stock where it's in the largest industry in the world. It's at the forefront. It's in the vanguard of a transformation that's the biggest technological transformation in 150 years, according to James Altucher. This transformation is going to create more millionaires and billionaires and create more wealth than crypto, according to James Altucher and others. But what happened, you can see the valuation in the private channels for other AI companies. And you're going to be given an opportunity to buy into the IPO of whatever the agglomeration is, SpaceX, Boring, and whatever else. You're going to get that chance. You might get the chance to buy into, I forget the other one, is it Anthropic? So you get to buy it at a tremendous valuation. But you're not able to get in at the low value. You didn't get a chance to get in what I think is a pale comparison. You didn't get a chance to buy into LangChain. And you won't get a chance. So by just serendipity, two guys mainly who have built software all their lives, they knew of the issues in the SAS, the SDK market, but they also, because they understand what's coming, they understood the ADK, what's now come to be called the ADK market. They said, why don't we fix that? Hey, that's a good idea. Hey, another round after another round. You know what? Why don't we, instead of fixing that for SDKs, and I'm paraphrasing, of course, because I wasn't sitting there, why don't we do it for ADKs? Yeah, but nobody knows what AI, they didn't use these words, AI 2.0, AI for everything, AI for everything. No one gets it yet. Yeah, but why don't we do it? Why don't we be ready for the confluence of huge data centers, massive upgrades in compute power, the awareness of AI 2.0, the robotic? Why don't we get ready for that? Why don't we be early? Okay, but we're going to need some money. Well, let's use our money first. And we got some friends. So friends and family, they get started 7 years ago. You know, before we start, let me call Microsoft. Hey, Micro, are you doing this? I don't think we are. Would you be interested in it? Sounds great. Why don't you write up a white paper? I'll read it. I'll put it up the channels. They spent 6 months on a white paper. During those 6 months, I believe during those 6 months, they went to the best IP lawyer they could find, attorney. They built powerful initial claims on intellectual property. I don't always trust that stuff, but in this space that's moving so quickly, it's important. They did it. They locked that up. They got back to Microsoft. Sign an NDA. I don't know if it was an NDA, whatever it was. Okay. We love it. Micro says, we love it. Well, are you going to do it? No, we got our hands full. We're trying to do this, this, and this. Well, if we do it, are you going to compete with us? I don't know how the conversation went, but I do know that Microsoft said, what can we do to help out? They liked it so much. So that's 5 or 6 years, 7 years ago. And the company got started on several areas in software that all boil down to what's now called orchestration frameworks. It wasn't called that then. And as the company went forward, sure enough, no one knew what the hell they were doing. Talk about it to somebody and say, well, I'd rather be in NVIDIA. I heard Tesla's going up. I saw Apple's going, I have my money over at a wealth advisor. They're doing 20% a year. And of course, that's going to keep going on every year. So I'm going to go over there. COVID hit. So they ran out of their friends and family money, I imagine. So they needed more money. They went public. They went public in Canada. And Canadian markets, I think, are somewhat better in, I don't want to say enforcement, but I think the fact that the Canadian markets are so much smaller than the US markets, it's somewhat harder to pull the rug over. It's harder to hide in the shadows, but they do it. I got screwed in a stock. So anyway, they go public in the Canadian. I don't know. I can't give you how much they raised that way, but then they're looking ahead and they're thinking we're going to need money, still need money. So they listed on the over-the-counter market down here, which is just a stockyard. It is a muddy, stinking, sluicing, fetid slaughterhouse. But they signed up for it. And then people give advice, upgrade to NASDAQ like Finger did. NASDAQ's just a gilded abattoir. It's the same thing. It's just the animals go up in an escalator and there's music going on as they get their head knocked off. But it's the same principle. NASDAQ's worse because CEOs think they've made it. They let their guard down. NASDAQ is, Adina Friedman should be taken out of that position and all of her wealth taken away from her. She's a joke. But I think that's the same thing for that Cromwell guy at the over-the-counter markets. But so they list on the over-the-counter markets with the intention of raising money down here. And guess what? Another bit of luck. ChatGPT went viral. And all of a sudden, everybody started to understand what's going on. And so they decided to go out and commercialize their products. They started attending conventions, pitching woo, talking to investors and customers. And they did not do a toxic note with Jeff Easton or Ari Rubinstein or Kurt Kramer. They didn't do it. They decided we're going to go it alone here because we can raise some money. I think another bit of, although I'll speak for myself, I got extremely frustrated in the summer and in the third quarter with the delays, which was beyond any of the understanding I had of how long we'd have to be in it. And I kind of lost my cool several times. But another piece of fortune. Not only did they meet, and John Ruffalo, Tom Norbrega, and Patrick Horgan and Dr. Tom Core say, why don't you buy us? Those Rolodexes of those guys, massive. So what a brilliant thing those companies are doing 500 million in revenue. Let's say 200, I don't know the number. Let's say 200 million in spend on other hyperscalers. Another bit of luck. Sometimes it's hard work meets opportunity, and everyone calls it luck. Genius and hard work meets opportunity. Everybody calls it luck. But TELUS and Canada are in the middle of a sovereign push for Canada because they can't stand Trump. Another bit of luck. Trump proves to the whole world that Europe can't trust the United States. I think he's got a reason for that. He's trying to break up old alliances that are one-way streets. Middle East, Russia, no one can trust. So sovereignty becomes a big deal worldwide. These are pieces of fortune that we didn't know about or I didn't, when I first acquired, what looks like pitiable amount compared to most of you. But anyway, like I say, I'm glad for what I have. The point is, these things just get better and better and better. It's as if not only are the Rolling Stones and the Beatles, the living ones, going to show up, but for some god-awful reason, Taylor Swift is going to show up, and I don't know how to say his name. Jay West, Yahweh. What's his name? West? Yee. It's as if things just get better and better. So there's been a lot of good breaks we've had, but you don't see it in the price. Well, I think that gives you the opportunity to build your position, not an opportunity to pick on me. Then you're just being a victim. So if you have losses of $500,000, Railtown is still selling at or below the price it was 15 months ago. Frankly, if you use a thick enough range, Railtown's essentially selling for what people bought into in the friends and family round and in the other public rounds. It's probably a little bit higher, but they've all had that opportunity cost, and they've waited for 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. Some of you, one guy in particular, complains that he's been waiting for 6 months. Poor baby. So anyway, the story's got massively better. You know why it's down? Because it's been pummeled by the same system. Because they're all idiots. They just do the same thing. The computers lead them. They do it on every stock. But this one, look, I don't feel sorry for them. They're not going to lose money. I bet they're in it with the regulators and the lawyers. They might cajole. It might be honeypots, whatever. They have ways. I doubt they're going to lose a lot of money. But there could be a squeeze, I guess. We'll find out. So it's not that the story changed for the worse. The story has gotten much, much better. So you're able, if you have 500,000 in losses, what I suggest, nothing really matters. Anyone can see. Nothing really matters to me. So if you have 500,000, I would use the Railtown target of $5. Divide it out. That means you need to buy 100,000 shares of Railtown. It's a lot. If you pay 35 cents over the next few days, unfortunately, you've got to risk $35,000 more of your money. But I would suggest to most of you, you still have stock in Finger. You still have stock in whatever, you know, MMTN, and you still have all, sell that stuff. Take your losses, put it here. You'd probably find 35 grand. If you've lost that much, you can probably find 35 grand in all those other crappy stocks. Sell them. Buy $35,000 worth of Railtown. That's 100,000. So now your risk is 535,000, and you've got 100,000 shares. So it's pretty simple. You've got to see a stock price of $5.35 in Railtown. $5.35 in Railtown. And all your dreams will come true. I was driving through Bakersfield, listening to the country radio station, and a preacher came on from the church of something, I don't want to say. And he said, all I had to do was send $5 to that church, and all my prayers would come true. I was so pleased to be informed of this that I drove five red lights in his honor. Well, all right, so you've got to get to 535 to break even on all your losses. Well, we know that AIP could bring in 40 million. I'm not going to go through the breakdown in ARR, projectable ARR, and I would guess that the TELUS deal can bring in 200 million in ARR. Let's say exiting 2027. I've gone through the examples. I'm not going to do it again. 240 million in ARR annually for Railtown exiting 2027. There's 213 outstanding shares of Rail, 213 million. With the warrants, it might be 220. Let's just say there's 240, just to make it simple. 240 million shares of Railtown. That gives you exiting 2027, just from those two sources, TELUS and a subset of TELUS being the AIP network. You have $1 a share ARR exiting 2027. That's the run rate. Well, guess what? 100% margin, nearly as close as it can be. It's just a red, never mind. 100% margin. That means it's $1 in ARR, but it's also $1 in net revenue. It's $1 in cash flow. It's $1 in profit or earnings. exiting 2027 from two sources, you can calculate $1 a share in annual recurring revenue, sticky annual recurring revenue, high margin. Well, what'd you say the number was? You had to get 535. So $1 ARR in this orchestration, sovereignty, framework, control, observability, inference layer, the going rate is 35. $35x, 50x, 60x, and higher, 100x, 150 times. There's some 200 times. LangChain was priced at 85x. So let's throw in some conservative ones. We'll put fingers multiple, 2x. We'll put an SAS number, 10x. Pretty conservative. And we'll put a software fast growing with some AI number. We'll use 25x. It's all pretty simple. It's all pretty simple. At 2x with $1, that's $2. At 10x, that's $10. At 25x, $25. At 35x, $35. At 50x, $50. At 60x, $60. So somewhere between 2x and 10x, depending if you agree with that number, you get your money, you go flat on all your losses. These numbers are coming, whether it's in terms of a multiple or this number goes up. Let's say the multiple stays at 25. But let's say this exiting 2028 is 250. Ladies and gentlemen, Railtown gives you the opportunity to make back all of the money you lost from the system. 27.5 trillion in 1 year. Instead of blaming me, who has nothing to do with all this, I had to learn it with you. Why don't you be an actor in your own life? Man up, girl up, sell the crap. You can do it. You can do it. Take it off your account. Move it over into Railtown. Now, if you don't have that much money, then maybe your target you have to get to is $7.50 or $10. But Railtown's going to go there, in my judgment. And I don't know a better way for you to make your money back. The stock is suppressed by the heaviness, by the toad. People like the toad. It's suppressed. And you have information before the radio announces to the world that the box office is open at Carnegie Hall to see the aging and dying Rolling Stones and Beatles, along with Taylor Swift and Joss Stone and maybe any of the leftover Led Zeppelin guys will show up. Before it's announced, you have information. You can act while it's still cheap. I don't think you have more than 3 days, but you might have 3 weeks. You might have another month and a half, but it's coming to an end soon. And then you won't be able to do it. All right, let me go through Let's see what this is. Hi, Pat. Pat says hi, everybody. All right, now that I gave you the strategery, let me go through what I think you might appreciate. And I think it's pretty, for me, it's pretty impressive. Okay. And as you're listening to this, seeing it, is there any other one of these companies that you've seen such a thing? Maybe that Energy Vault had a pretty good presentation. And I think early on, Torchlight had a great presentation. And I think MMAT did. You know, there's others that do. But I would just wonder if they measure up to this. But let's go through it. This is Rail Town, Roadhouse, February 2026. That's your company, Railtown, February 26th. That's last month. That's soon to be 2 months old. Who were their partners in this scam, as some of you tell me? Well, their partners across the top is embedded in every bit of Microsoft's offerings. Microsoft for Startups, Microsoft Partner, co-sell ready partner at Microsoft. Look at this other one down here in the second column. Well, second row. NVIDIA. NVIDIA, who's going to be making $1 trillion a year in revenue exiting this year. $1 trillion. That's Canadian T. Texas T. And NVIDIA gets something like 90% of the chip market for this AI for everybody, AI for everything. But NVIDIA is billed, as you saw at the GTC before I got taken down. NVIDIA is building the entire software stack, for lack of a better word, to accompany or to be matched with its chip. So when NVIDIA offers a solution to a buyer, it's everything. They're not just selling the engine of the Cadillac. They're selling the leather seats, the sound system, the heater on the seats, the luxury seating in the back, the rack and pinion steering, all of that marketing. They're a partner with NVIDIA. There's TELUS, $30 billion company in the top 3 of telecoms in Canada, and we know they have an arrangement with them. Then it's Northeastern University, University of British Columbia, but over here, AMD. And then there's Amy and Mila. They're also kind of think tanks, sources of talent and money. And then there's Digital, which was part of that amalgamation. And then there's Uniserv. Uniserv is a much smaller proof of concept, but it's important. Uniserv has 3,000 end users, companies. Although when I talked to Corey, he said 2,000, but in one of the sources of information, it says 3,000. But it's going to prove up the concept just like TELUS would. Seems pretty scammy to me. This you've seen before, but reread it. Building a Canadian AI agent development and deployment ecosystem. Development and deployment. And Canadian AI agent development and deployment. I don't know why it's taking so long. All right, this is your stack, basically. This is, I think there's now something like 5 layers, but this is basically your stack. The 3 core pillars of building and deploying AI. If we start at the bottom, you have your data center, you have your hyperscalers. In our case, the one that matters is TELUS. For now, I don't think, in my own mind, I'm not positive that Google matters to us. However, if Google wants us, if they want exclusivity, they're going to have to pay up. So you can't take it off the board. But Bell Canada is important. CoreWeave's important. Amazon just bought some robotics company for personal services. And Amazon probably, if I had to hazard a guess, might be the most advanced company in the United States in usage of robots. But that's a guess. And then there's Microsoft Azure. 400 data centers Microsoft has. But anyway, let's stick with TELUS. TELUS has the first sovereign AI factory in Canada. They're ahead by a year, approximately, at Rimouski and Kamloops. I think they want to giddy up and go before somebody catches up to them. So you might ask, what the hell are they waiting for? You may well ask that. If you're looking for an answer from me, I think you might be waiting just as long. I might be waiting to answer you just as long as it takes for them to tell us. I have no idea what's taking so long. It could just be testing, installing everything and making sure it all works well. It could be they're bringing on, at the next level, large language models. There's OpenAI, Anthropic, and Cohere. So in the hyperscaler, it's like your subconscious. And somebody brings up somebody mentions the Rolling Stones, and out of the creakiness of your subconscious, in the large language model there, the synapses start connecting, the neurons start bringing up, and you bring up Rolling Stones, you think of the magazine, you think how many girls has Mick Jagger ruined. Hey, I read that book by Kiefer, and Keith was always a gentleman with the ladies. And what about all his 10 riffs? And what about Charlie Watts? Where is Charlie Watts? And why do they use Rod Stewart's old guitar player, Ron Wood? You know, your mind goes through all these things. And it's just all sitting there, all in a big rush of data coming up out of your consciousness, your hyperscaler. Well, it's just sitting there. It's useless. It's a big blob. It doesn't do anything. Well, the orchestration frameworks, that's where it goes, are you listening? The person talking to you is telling you that, would you like to go to a concert where the Rolling Stones are playing? So why don't you focus on that? How much money you have? What do you need to do to buy the ticket? Who do you have to call to get permission? That is what the orchestration frameworks is, kind of. So anyway, large language models, there's OpenAI, Anthropic. I think Anthropic is the company. I really think that's the one. But who knows? And then Cohere. Maybe TELUS is sorting through those, and maybe they have to negotiate something. Who knows? Maybe they're using Canadian attorneys, largely simps and young women who just graduated, but are already made partners, so that in Canada, law firms can get contracts from the government because 55% of the partners are female and not white. That's hard to find not white people in Canada. But, we're woke. Who the hell knows what's taking so long? But it's going to end soon. So anyway, there's the large language models. I would guess it's going to be Cohere because it's Canadian, but I have no idea. It could be one of those three or all three. And then you get up to the orchestration frameworks and you see our nemesis, maybe, is what everyone tells me. I don't think so. LangChain. You see Google. I think Google probably has come up with some system, something that may do some or all of what Railtown does. Not all. I'll show you it doesn't do all. And then there's Railtown, which I continue to believe and express. I think Railtown was first. And maybe I can't say first to market, although I think that's definitional. I think it's best in class, and I think it's better than LangChain. But you don't know that yet. Frankly, I don't know it yet. So here's Railtown AI. Previous things I've shown you, and on their website, they had 4 divisions. Now they break it into 2. One is one is their tools at Railtown AI. This is their agent development stack. Agent development stack. This is the critical, in my opinion, this is the critical piece that makes that data center worthwhile to users. And then under the marketplace, which they bought, that's their agent publishing platform. There were 5,000 end users. There's probably more now. But this is a pretty big captive audience, captive market. This is Railtown AI. This is your agent development stack. You've got RailEngine, real-time event-driven intelligence. That's like my intelligence, event-driven. You've got Conductr, agent observability platform. That's like your mama, always watching what you're doing. And then you've got Railtracks, agent development kit. That basically, the importance of that, and there's a lot of those, but the importance of that is that every bit, just focus on apps, the App Store at Apple and at Google. All of that has to be replaced with ADKs. RailEngine, Conductr, and Railtracks. An end-to-end platform that I don't believe anybody else can offer that. So Railtracks builds the agent. That's an AI agent that does real work. It does real things for you or for a company. RailEngine feeds the agent, particularly if it's a robot or running a taxi or running a financial model. RailEngine gives real-time nanosecond information. It feeds the agent. And Conductr makes sure the agent doesn't go off the rails, monitors the agent. This is serious stuff, guys and girls. This is real time. This is real time Roadhouse. This is real time. Railtracks gives you, the developer, the agent's brain. This gives you the brain of the agent for planning, memory, and actions. RailEngine gives you, as a developer, for your agent that you create, it gives the agent knowledge, a knowledge base. It's data retrieval, it's ingestion, real time, and grounding, whatever the hell that is. And Conductr gives you the agent's visibility. It gives you runtime insights, chain of thought, visualization, debugging, API, orchestration, governance. It's a powerful package. Railtracks, what it does, open source Python. What Python's some sort of tool and everybody uses it. So if you're trained on it, you don't have to be trained on anything else. It's open source Python agentic framework. You empower your own agents with your own tools. You can connect to any large language model by any provider. It's Switzerland. It's agnostic. It is indifferent, and it can handle anything. Enforce guardrails and policy constraints with ease. With ease. It's not all clunky. You can observe, track, and evaluate your agents locally and on the cloud. What does that mean locally? What does that mean? Locally means you can do it in Canada. Locally means you can do it inside of your vertical software system. Locally means you can do it I suppose I'm getting out of my knowledge base, but you can do it inside of that sovereign data center. You can restrict it. Locally means that the rest of the internet doesn't see it. And it means you avoid the Cloud Act that in the United States. But also there's the cloud for convenience. It's all in the cloud. If you don't care, you trust it. You can be traveling. It's all in the cloud. And you don't need to build a big office or a local computer system. You have parallelized execution, another terrible destruction of the English language, but thank God it's flexible. Straightforward multi-agent orchestration, built-in logging, and when to use it is when you want to destroy the English language one more time. You want to use it, when to use it is when you're creating productionizable agent orchestrations, whatever the hell that means, productionizable, but you get the idea. Insight generation by connecting APIs to LLMs as tools, autonomous action and decision making for a variety of applications, full observability in agent decision making. RailEngine, what it does. It's multi-source document grounding, not shredding, grounding. So you can bring any data source in, I believe even your own handwriting, pictures, maybe your voice, and it brings all that data into one interface, I guess, which everyone else, and it puts it out probably in plain English, but it puts it out so everybody can read it in your organization and can interact with it. Normalization and transformation of data, indexing and retrieval pipelines, embedding and vector generation. Who among you doesn't want to be able to generate a vector? Real-time data ingestion from external systems or cloud platforms. I think that right there is gigantic. When to use? When an agent needs real-time or frequently changing data outside of your control. Like you're a sell-side computer program seller shorting the market, stealing trillions, you're going to have to use RailEngine. Data lives in CRMs, cloud storage, third-party systems, or volatile platforms. They can handle all that data. And they can collate it, make it make sense, make it work together. When you must ingest, normalize, index, and retrieve data efficiently for agent use. RailEngine represents an open world, not Canada, an open world agent requiring a real-time event-based engine. It's powerful, more powerful than you know. Conductr, what it does. Well, Conductr, it's real-time agent runtime metrics. It's metrics, keeping track of everything. Token usage. This token usage is why Anthropic, I think, is going to replace the Fed or central banks. I don't know. But I think Anthropic's going to be bigger than Bitcoin. Anyway, that's probably already happened. Token usage and cost analytics. Chain of thought visualization. Chain of thought. AI application performance monitoring. Error tracking, and root cause analysis. I think that right there was what, when they met 7 years ago, that might have been all they set out to do. And look how big it's gotten. Developer velocity insights. Deployment monitoring across agent clusters. Okay. Multi-agent tracing and debugging. API gateway orchestration. When to use? Always. Always be closing. Always use Conductr. Conductr monitor. Do you know what always means? It means burn, burn, burn. Your tokens. It means use, use, use. Your tokens. It means spend, spend, spend your tokens. It means revenue, revenue, revenue. It means Amy, Amy, Amy. Revenue, revenue, revenue. Conductr monitors all agent-related workloads. It provides observability for Railtracks built agents. It provides observability for RailEngine retrieval pipelines. It is required for production agent applications. And then we go through the AIP Corporation agent publishing platform. Amy, Amy, Amy. I'd play that song, but I'll get copyrighted, and then you'll never get to see my ugly mug again. All right, so here's AIP, Railtown AI Technologies and AIP Partnerships Corp. Overview. The recent acquisition of AIP represents a unique combination of two Canadian leaders. Is there such a thing? In the AI ecosystem. Railtown AI Technologies, a leader in AI agent developer tools, and AI Partnerships Corp, an established network of over 180 AI-driven affiliates with a proven in Canada and a proven down here $500 million in annual sales footprint. Amy, Amy, Amy. Well, it does look like we're going to war. If you read the market's down 451 Dow, and the Nasdaq's down 463, and S&P's down 100. And energy, see, the thing is, when oil gets above 150 or so, it's all over for the markets. That's when it becomes a market of stocks, not a stock market. Anyway, let's keep going. 500 million in annual sales footprint. AIP affiliates spend approximately, I didn't see this, spend approximately 150 million annually on Microsoft, AWS, and Google. Oh, Google cloud platforms. That's a natural move to tell us. 150 million. Pick your multiple. I'd say 20%, but maybe it's more, maybe it's less. At 20%, that's $30 million coming to Railtown. Visible, sticky, high margin. And if you give $30 million a 35 multiple, you got $1 billion company. You divide that out, you get a $4.66 stock. Do you see how you can make back the money you've lost by acting? Affiliate network transformation. AIP's affiliate network, used in conjunction with Railtown's AI agent developer platform, creates a first of its kind for the AI marketplace and agent publishing platform. So it creates a first of its kind AI marketplace and agent publishing platform. This transforms AIP's previous business-to-business matchmaking model into a monetizable AI agent services platform. AI services growth potential. The newly integrated platform aims to have multifaceted growth potential. Well, we all want things that are multifaceted. On the monetization side, the integration of Railtown's AI agent developer suite delivers the existing affiliate network high quality AI service solutions and activates ensuing revenues for Railtown. From a growth perspective, the network's expansive nature provides significant opportunity for organic network growth, with new customers further growing service revenues. Turning growing in, I guess, into an action verb. I don't know. Strategic vision. By combining Railtown's AI agent developer platform and orchestration technology, by combining Railtown's AI agent developer platform and orchestration technology with Teles's AI data centries and AIP's vast network, we aim to deliver an end-to-end development to deployment to publishing platform for AI agents, a full agent marketplace. So over on the left-hand side, CPU revenue is generated when an affiliate AI agent is running. So when an affiliate's AI agent is running and performing work, a CPU revenue is generated. During that time, the agent uses CPU resources provided by the hosting company. The more frequently or longer the agent runs, the more CPU capacity is consumed and the higher the associated hosting cost. On the right-hand side, when a customer's agent is, let me look at what that says. Amy. I guess I'm not going to be able to tell you. Tell her you belong to me. Tell her you belong to me. Where is it? Not there. Might be there. Tell her you belong to me. All right, here's what it says. When a customer's agent is running, every decision it makes triggers an inference call. Not a phone call, a call on inference, a call on usage. Each inference consumes GPU time, which hyperscalers monetize as tokens. Longer running, more autonomous agents directly translate into higher GPU revenue. Now, here's a cartoon of it. At the bottom, you've got the TELUS Sovereign AI Factory, which is based on TELUS's data, compute, its stack, its chips, its NVIDIA chips, the collection of all that data. But you also have, on the other hand, TELUS's assortment, or maybe just one, large language model company. So that collectively is the TELUS stack. That's the data center. That's the power. That's the computer. That's the compute. And then you have the publishing agent. Now, I don't know what that means, publish, as opposed to something else, but you have the agent, which I guess is created using those tools up above it, the Railtown AI. And then, of course, you have the partnerships, which represent the users. So the users at the top need the, I don't know, call it the interpreter and the facilitator and the butler, the protector, the guardrails of Railtown AI to be able to use all of that data down below, which I don't know what publish agent means, but it's up there. Railtown is what allows the users to use the publish agent effectively. All right, so by aligning Railtown agents' development platform and orchestration technologies with TELUS's GPU Sovereign AI Factory and Uniserve's CPU and hosting infrastructure, this partnerships delivers a cross-country, sovereign, and secure AI developer ecosystem. Yay! Railtown, TELUS, and Uniserve. So here's a map of Canada, which you probably can't name all of those provinces. You've got the Northwest Territories, you've got Alberta, you've got Edmonton. Oh, Edmonton's this place. So you've got Manitoba, Ontario, Quebec, Newfoundland, British Columbia, Prince Edward Island, I think, is a separate one. And, the other places to get lost in. All right, so you've got Railtown and Uniserve over there, number one, Vancouver, BC. You've got Railtown and TELUS, number two, Kamloops, BC. And you've got Railtown and Uniserve in Calgary, AB. And you got Waterloo at number four, that's Railtown and Uniserve in Ontario. And you've got Rimouski, Railtown and TELUS, number five. Guys, you're seeing this information probably before your money manager and your retirement fund managers are seeing it. Managed services model. So the Uniserve customers over there, they're kind of cute. They interface, I guess, another horrible use of the English language. They interface with the Uniserve data center, and that's where the agents are hosted on the Uniserve data center. That data center goes back and forth and takes advantage of the Railtown Agent Development Platform. That Railtown Agent Development Platform is what makes the TELUS Sovereign AI Data Factory with its large language model useful. Otherwise, it's just a big block of baloney. Railtown turns it into whatever you want to finish the analogy with, a manwich. All right, it's 3:30. The markets are being crushed, but not like anything. If Russia enters the war, not like anything you're going to see. Fingers down 2 cents at 108. You know, MTN, $27. It's right now $1.30. Next strip is 222.5, down 15.5. Nixie's down 14 cents at 104.99. Are you out of your mind? And Railtown is 31.11, 0.3051 by 0.3192. Remember, if you're trying to find sanity and you're thinking the stock price is telling you something, you're not going to find sanity that way. The short-term computers, the fraud, they're just trying to make money today. They're trying to get the stock down for the month, for the quarter. It's just how it is. But the thing they don't have a big hedge fund committed to stealing the entire market cap, because there isn't a hedge fund who was bird dogged by a Jeff Easton or an Ari Rubenstein or a Kurt Kramer having the company sign a toxic note or a toxic financing. There's no commitment here. It's fun to do it every day for them because they're just mining. They're just mining for little fractions of pennies all day long. They're doing it all day. And Ann Wagner lets it happen because she wants to protect your privacy. Another idiot. Okay, so up top there are all the users and agents. So on the bottom, you have the TELUS Sovereign AI Factory. That's where your compute is. That's where your storage is. That's where your, I guess, database is. That's where Kafka is. I was wondering. He woke up as a cockroach. Data centers, residency, security, trust. So this is your Canadian sovereign infrastructure, which is going to be replicated around the world. So this is your agent development and deployment stack. Your agents are up there at the top. Railtown AI is the agent development platform. I don't know if it can be made more plain. It sits on top of the TELUS Sovereign AI Factory. And it's what allows users to make TELUS's factory useful. Customers can build and deploy sovereign accredited agents on demand. I tried to circle on demand. This whole bloody thing is going to scale, and it's going to grow like wildfire. Agent-driven cloud computing revenues. Agent-driven cloud computing revenues. Agent-driven cloud computing revenues. Railtown monetizes inference. Railtown monetizes inference. Now look at this chart. This is from Battery. Look at this chart. AI training has been driving compute revenue. In other words, I personally, I think that's a way of describing AI 1.0, but I might be wrong on that. But what's been happening over the last years is they're training the models, training large language, etc. OpenAI, Anthropic, that gray part of the pyramid on the left, Gemini, training it. That's where the revenue is coming from. The top of the pyramid's been very small, inference. You haven't even heard about it. You haven't heard about it. Well, look to the right, the pyramid's flipped. The pyramid is flipped. The massive amount of revenue is going to come from inference now and in the future. Training is going to become the cap on the pyramid. Inference is the pyramid. And I'm sure LangChain's in there somewhere so that somebody can point it out. So agentic applications and agents drive inference. This is the heart of Railtown. All right, watch this chart from Goldman Sachs. Goldman Sachs. The profit pool in software is expected to shift toward AI agents. This is illustrative of the shift in total addressable market for software as a service and agents. Agent disruption of software as a solution. Do you see the, I guess, navy blue, slate blue? For 25-26, it still is what people are focusing on. That's where the revenue is. But beginning this year and going to the end of the decade, the gray blue, agentic revenue grows. And it grows so rapidly, it goes from almost invisible to my eyeballs, more than half of revenue coming from software as a solution and from SDKs and ADKs. Agent total market is more than half by the end of the decade. That's where you are. AI agents and agent development kits, ADKs, market growth outlook. Last time you saw something like this, these were smaller numbers. AI agents market growth from Mordor, SAC Insight, TechCrunch, Business Insider, agentic AI development platforms from Mordor, ADK, AI agents, ADK's relationship, industry momentum. Let's just go to the summary. AI agents, 5 to 6 billion now. It'll be 50 to 100 billion by the end of the decade. That's what you've hitched your wagon to. That's the boat whose sail you're waiting for the wind in your sail. That's the wind beneath your wings. ADKs grow from 11 billion to 50 billion by the end of this 5 years. ADKs will scale in tandem with agent adoption. Can you say about any of the other crap stocks? Can you mention strong tailwinds? Can you say anything about any stock over the last 4 years and at the same time say strong tailwinds? Strong tailwinds from enterprise use cases, hyperscalers, and vertical adoption. Move over from those other, get out anything in this bucket right now. Get out of the high risk. I would say Railtown is speculative, but get out of the high risk. Move everything in the high risk speculative bucket in your account. Move it to Railtown. And do it before you regret that you didn't do it. Who do you know gets home and says, I wish I had purchased a smaller television? Do you even know what a television is? A smaller screen. You're in 90 days, you're gonna say, oh, I wish I had purchased fewer shares of Railtown. Really? You're not gonna say that. All right, new headline. Additional slides, comps. So we're going to go into the comps, which I got angry about, which I don't believe I did, but all right. There's always competitors. ADK comparisons, Railtracks ADK versus Landgraph ADK versus Google Agent Development Kit ADK. Now, this was not presented to me, so I can't break it all down for you, but I can make a couple of observations. The competition's gotten better since the last time I showed you something like this. But there's Railtracks, and the top one is all yes. The second line is all yes. The third line's all the same. The fourth line is all the same, except for you'll notice that Google is in its own silo. Oh, Google. And Evaluations API is yes for Railtracks and yes for Google, but LangChain, you have to have a separate package. And then the evaluation dashboard, which I think is important, is yes, it's local and remote. That's sovereignty, my friends. That is sovereignty, local and remote. So that's a plus in my eyes. Remote only is a minus. Remote only is a minus. But remember, if you're in the Google system anyway, you're probably not worried about sovereignty. So that's slightly different. But in LangChain, that's a negative compared to Railtracks. I don't know how much. Vector stores, we all want a vector. I've gone to various shopping malls looking for a vector store, but I've never found one. Anyway, it's all the same basically, and who cares about Google? Agent observability, again, it's local and remote. Local, local, local. That's a positive for Railtracks. It's remote only with the others, and I'm not sure if you're observing and controlling and you're concerned about sovereignty and national security. I don't know. It seems like Railtracks got that bag. That's not my bag, baby. One Austin Powers book entitled, "This Is My Bag Baby." Oh, behave. All right, so I don't know what MCP is, but it's apparently important. And Railtown has it, LangChain doesn't. I can't explain it to you, but it's important. Google has it, Just look, Google has everything here. Then if you come down the rail side, it's all yes for the rest of it. LangChain's all yes, but the local visualizer is limited. I don't know the importance of that. But if you come all the way to the bottom, barrier to entry in the mind of Corey and Railtown, they want low barrier to entry. If you're in the financial world, you want high barriers to entry. But what they mean here is ease of entry. And in the case of Railtowns, it's pure Python. Pure Python. Stand and deliver. It's pure Python. You mean the flower, Lupin. So it's no extra concepts. If you know Python, you're ready to go. LangChain's a little more complicated, and you have to learn it. It's graph-based. So ease of use and ease of opening the box and plugging it in goes to Railtown. All right, so here's data engine comparisons. RailEngine real-time ingestion versus Confluent, a data streaming engine. Look up Confluent. It's over 10 billion now in enterprise value. I'm not saying that Railtown's going to be equal to Confluent, but it's similar. And you have this information. Act on it. All right, I'm almost done with this section. It's 346. The bid is 3051 to 316. Hey, our seller, 52.5, he's back. Good, man. 81,760 shares. Last trade, 270 shares at 936. See, I don't think all these shares reported are on the exchange. I think they're in the dark. I don't know. It's all manipulated. Stop thinking that the price is telling you anything about the value of Railtown, and take advantage, in my judgment, that it's completely mispriced. Completely mispriced. But if you want affirmation, beta. All right, let's see. RailEngine. RailEngine. It's purpose-built for AI agents and RAG workflows. Confluent, what an unfortunate name. Confluent and Kafka can transport events, but it cannot make them useful for AI. RailEngine delivers embeddings, PII masking, always important, vector search, document combination rules, text indexing, agent triggering webhooks. Hey, I get triggered a few times. Kafka plus 5 external systems. Read that. I should have highlighted that. RailEngine works right out of the box. Right out of the box. Kafka, to do the similar, you need to add 5 external systems. Railtown works right out of the box. Multi-store persistence. Kafka is not a database. Railtown writes to hot SQL. I wrote to her once. She never wrote back. And archives to blob. I never contacted blob. Enabling versioning, replay, deduping. Now that's something I need to work on, is my deduping. Auditability and retrieval. I assume deduping means getting rid of duplicates. Kafka topics alone cannot provide these semantics. Who could? I don't know anyone that could come up with the semantic of deduping. But anyway, Railtown, compared to Kafka, opinionated log processor pipeline. Most customers don't want to assemble Kafka streams, schema registry, Flink, vector DB, blob storage, and an SQL store. It does sound a little bit untidy. RailEngine gives, listen to this, RailEngine gives the user one ingestion call: masked, embedded, indexed, archived, and searchable. Which sounds better to you? Webhook-based agent workflow handoff. Kafka requires a consumer group, processing app, connectors, etc. RailEngine is much similar. That's I guess the bottom line. RailEngine is much simpler. This is friendly to Railtracks agents, Zapier, Logic apps, internal microservices, and Conductr's downstream processors. So here's a side-by-side. Confluent. Remember, Confluent's worth 10 or 11 billion. RailEngine. Confluent equals event streaming infrastructure. It's built to reliably, and it's a valuable company. I'm not tearing it down, obviously. Built to reliably transport messages and event logs at massive scale. I think Railtown acts at massive scale, but the point of this is that Confluent is not a competitor to RailEngine. They're complementary. Confluent stops at data transport. Retrieval, enrichment, and agent workflows require custom engineering. Today's AI pipelines require 5 to 7 disconnected tools to mask PII, archive to the blob, store to the SQL, create embeddings, index text, and trigger workflows. RailEngine is equal to an agentic knowledge engine, transforms raw enterprise events into structured, embedded, indexed, and searchable context that agents can act on in real time. RailEngine continues to the decision layer, semantic enrichment, retrieval APIs, webhook-based agent triggers, and Conductr observability. Here, I think, summarizes the whole thing. RailEngine delivers this as a single, opinionated ingestion pipeline. One call in, agent-ready context out. Here's your team. There's Corey, the man, the brand, Brandolini. 30 years of experience building and financing high growth software and technology companies. One of them was acquired by Microsoft. There's Marwan Haddad, Microsoft, um, way overqualified, uh, global platforms, and smart as anything. Dr. Elliot Haltham, another smart guy. Dr. Tom Core, 10 years, the head of Ontario Centers of Excellence. And Waterloo, win or lose, my little baby. COO of IBM Canada for Pat Horgan at IBM. And he was responsible for the implementation of the AI and high performance computer ventures at IBM. And then look at this, the key people. You've got this great guy, Dr. Eldad Haber and Cameron Schuler, both great guys, but all of a sudden, they are joined by John Ruffalo, founder and managing partner of Mavericks Private Equity, founder of Omer's Venture, and a key top Canadian businessman and influencer, and Michael Norbrega, former president and CEO of the Ontario Municipal Employees Retirement System, OMERS, one of Canada's largest pension funds. And even those guys fall into the shade when compared to Mike Lazaridis, co-founded Research in Motion, BlackBerry. He reshaped global mobile communications. He was also at the University of Waterloo, which makes you wonder if that's where he met Dr. Tom Core, or if he met Dr. Tom Core. Quantum computing, guys and girls. Which one of the other companies has this kind of team? Here's the disclaimer. I'll leave it up for a little while so you can read it. All right, we've got 4 minutes until the market closes. Railtown's in the red, of course, but it's very little. But of course, they're going to keep you depressed. It's 31.2. Fingers down 3.5 cents at 106.45. MTEN is 131, down half a dime. And Next Trip is down 13 cents, 225, and Nixie is down 13 cents at 105.99. Are you out of your mind? The markets are really crushed, but you haven't seen anything yet if we put boots on the ground, I think. Got 3 minutes to go. Just remember that you did this for Israel. You did this for Israel. Good gosh. Arnold Schwarzenegger is shown with, remember that maid that he had a kid with? This kid, he could be in the movies, but he's working out. He's stronger than Arnold. Unbelievable. There's no news on the war. I don't know. I hope that's good news. I hope that's good news. All right, one more minute to go. Iran pummels Israel with cluster bombs. Damn. Wounding 9 and sending cars flying. Ah, it's terrible. It's terrible. All right, let's look at the prices. It's 4 o'clock. And Railtown closed at 31.2, 28.59 to 37.4 at the end. The volume was, it actually only shows now 1,300 shares. I think all that other stuff's to make you think there's a lot of volume. Do you see what's happening? The volume's drying up. All right. Ham just sent me a stock ticker. I don't know what it means. Let me see what it means. Nothing. It means nothing. Let me see if I can find it on another screen. TGX, energy and resources. I'll write that down. I like the field. Okay. Let's see if there's any comments. And depending on the tone of the comments, I've got other things to show you, but if people aren't interested, I won't do it. D Macalula, please add 5. I love it. Baseball's back. I know. I've got to get ready for my. I don't think I'm going to have enough time to do a good job. Good job, D Mac. Richard K. Here's Eeyore. Can we get out of the caboose and start seeing a return on this investment? Richard K., you know what I think you should do? Sell the stock. Get out of Railtown. Go do something else. Go to a casino. Go up in New York. Go fly into New York and play that 3-card monte game. Do that. I can't help you. You got a sickness. You need to see a return on the investment in 6 months. You don't know what you're invested in, pal. You don't believe this. You know, if Railtown does $1 exiting 2007, it's not very far away, and it's priced at Finger Motion's multiple, it's $2. But that's not good enough. If it gets just a crappy SaaS multiple for something that's not growing, and it gets 10x. $10. But you don't want to wait. You want it now. I want it now. I'm a spoiled brat. Well, good luck, Richard. I actually wouldn't mind if you sold it and never showed up again. Silver Skyrocket. How are you? Silver Skyrocket. Where can I get that? Is it publicly available? No, it's not publicly, but the people that I have their emails, I guess I can send it to them. Do I have yours? I think I do. So I'll try to make that effort tonight. But I have to warn you, I haven't been able to get it sent. I tried it the other day, and it wouldn't leave my database. It said, I don't know, gave me an error message. I tried it several times. GTII apparently is way up. I hate putting that on my list, but I'll do it to see what's going on. I said a penny. No bid, no ask. Some of you listened to me and got out of it at what, 21, 22, 20, 18 cents and bought Railtown? How do you feel now? There's no bid, you can't get out, but everyone is all hyped up on it. We're going to win, we're going to do something, but people weren't listening to me. It's not about me, by the way, but when it goes legal, the last thing the court thinks about is shareholders. AB Patriot, try this link for the latest investor deck. Thank you. It may or may not work. I don't see the leak, but I'll try to, you know my email, Farrand Balanced, my name, Farrand Balanced at Gmail. Fair and balanced. So the beginning part of my name is actually far, but it's pronounced fair. And when you pronounce it all, my dad would always say, when you introduce, if people just tell them it's like the weather, fair and cool, fair and. Well, fair and balanced. I didn't want to write fair and cool. Could have, I guess. Fair and balanced at gmail.com, and I'll get it out to you. Hotel AV jobs. Tell us more. Tell me more. Tell me more. That's out of Greece, I think. Jack Hamilton, Hotel AV. Jack Hamilton, sorry, I'm late to the party. Jack Hamilton, please add 360. I love it. You're going to get up to Donna. You're catching up to Donna. What a wonderful country. Canada should join us. Ricky Brogan just bagged another. That's great, Ricky. That's awesome. Jack says hi to, good afternoon to Donna and all Railtown fans. Jack Hamilton, thank you for sharing the latest and the greatest, Sir William. Hey, Jack, Donna says we finished green. Oh, did we? I don't see that, but you might be right. Let me look on Canada. Oh, the CSE. Yeah, even in Canada, it was down a little bit. Let's see if there's any filing. No filings. Donna says, congratulations on Railtown buyers. I agree with Donna. Jack echoes the sentiment with peace, strong, and cool sign. All right, it's 4:09. I'm going to share my Venmo and my Zelle for just a little bit because there's Venmo. I've got to pay the internet. I've got to pay even for this service. Anyway, at some point here where I'm not going to have to do this anymore. And I also want to see what else I want to show you while I have that up there. Now, it's right around 4 o'clock. It's probably right around, I don't know how many minutes. It's right around the 2-hour break, 2:05, if you look at it later on. But let me see. I want to go into a little more information with you, but I've got to make sure I can find it. Oh, yeah, okay, I see that. That's a good one to show you. I guess that's a good one to show you. I can skip that. I guess I can try to show you a little bit of that. I don't know what it means, though. All right. I guess I can show you some things. All right, that's my Venmo. And I'll hide that. And this is my Zelle. I'll just leave that up for a little while as I search my files. That is my Zelle. It's right at 2:05, 2:07. And I think that's enough tying you up. Let me see if I can find what I want. One thing I wanted to show. Yeah, see, this is totally different than what I have. All right, I guess, but I want to go with this first anyway. I want to show Richard, who always complains, and I want to show the guy who said the other day, you're crazy not to take a profit at whatever number it was. Just look at this one. This is Planeteer, or however you pronounce it. In December of 23, the beginning of 24, so 2 years ago, it looks like that was around $1 or $2, maybe $3 a share. And if you follow the advice of some of these loonies, once it got up to 10, or maybe, do you see where that big circle is I drew? That's roughly 15. It went sideways. Oh, you're crazy not to take a profit. Oh, you're just being greedy. But you see what it did in 2 years? I don't know if I can make that bigger. I can't. But it went. I don't. Let me see if I can look on my thing here. Tell you the high. Now, I'm not saying that Railtown is Planeteer. I'm just giving you, it went to 210, and now it's 155 basically. So if you follow these lame brains advice like a bumper sticker. "Hey, you're just being greedy. You gotta take. You never go broke taking." Well, what if you had just, instead of following the stock, you bought the stock at $2 or $3 at Christmas time, uh, 2023, because you saw it sold off, and you just went on vacation. You went on a cruise for half a year. You made, the stock's trading at 15. And if you follow people's, well, you got to take the profit. Instead, if you looked at it at 15 and you studied the research and you studied the industry, you listened to management reports, you tried to get a grasp of where their revenue's going, you decided, you know what? I'm the head of the game. I'm just going to hang on. Let me go to my house in Florida for the rest of the year, and I'll come back to it after the holidays at the beginning of 2025. And if you came back, all of a sudden the stock is 25. Same thing. You look at it, there's nothing wrong. The story hasn't changed. I know nothing goes straight up. I know there's going to be some selling. In every life, there comes a little rain. But hey, my life is grand. I'm going to go with my husband to the Poconos for a break. And then we're going to go on our annual pilgrimage across Italy and the Alps, and just relax. And you come back at the beginning of 2026, and that bloody stock is over $100. So don't listen to these people that just give you bumper sticker advice. They just want you out. They're envious of you. They're trapped in the daily game of churning out, stealing. They're just cockroach. They're cockroach. All right, let me see what else I can show you. See, I wonder what that is. It's got my face on it, or does it? Or does it? Do I risk showing it to you? If it's private, I guess I do. I guess I risk showing it to you. Somebody, by the way, messed around with my YouTube account. So it's not beyond possible that the shorts are in trouble in Railtown. And I'm going to have to come up with a strategy or an explanation maybe of what we should be doing. I don't think we're in danger of a squeeze, but on the off chance that one happens, maybe we should have some GTC orders out there. I've already mentioned to you that I'm really conflicted on where, I just showed you the real volume today might be 1,300 shares. So if you flip out of it in a so-called squeeze at $25 and you have 40,000 shares, you might not be able to get back in. And $25 sounds great right now. Just like with that one I just showed you, Planeteer. Wow, that's awesome. But just a year later, it went over $100. When you have a wiener, sometimes you got to ride your wieners, your horses, the winning horse. You got to ride it. I don't know what I was going to show you just there. All right, so I'll go back over here. Now, this is a risk because it might be private. No, it's not. Okay. So I saw the white hair. I didn't see the face. I thought it was me. So I asked, what is Mike doing now? He's currently focusing on investing in and commercializing quantum technologies and artificial intelligence. And boom, look at that. I didn't ask him my question. It said he's a managing partner of Quantum Valley Investments. This is just Google, which he founded, I don't know, 13 years ago to support quantum science. And he recently joined the board, the advisory board of Vancouver-based AI startup Railtown AI Technologies. You don't think that's huge? I do. And then I expanded it, and it explains Quantum Valley 100 million fund, and then AI investment. Investing in and joining the advisory board of Railtown AI Technologies, marking a rare outside investment. Guys, whatever you think of me, several of you can't stand me, you think I'm a scam. What happens at Railtown has nothing to do with me. Nothing. Nothing. It's going to happen. Whether you're on board the train or standing at the station. Act. Take your life in your own hands. Stop waiting for the regulators. Stop waiting for a congressman. Stop waiting for a lawyer to get you a settlement. I guarantee you that lawyer is going to look out for her paycheck first. As soon as she has stopped milking the cow, she's going to settle. They all do it. And you go along with it because you're worn out. You don't have the money. So take advantage of a mispriced stock, so grossly mispriced, because of the fraudsters. Take advantage of it. You know what happens. Get ready for the slingshot that might put the toad in the ground, but you don't have to worry about that. The slingshot's going to bring your account if you buy. The thing is, you have to buy if you can, and if you can afford it, it's your own decision. You have to buy enough Railtown that if it goes to 5 or 10 or 15, it's better if it's at a lower price because then you'll feel better. Your whole experience for the last 3 or 4 years can go into the green. You don't have to explain to your wife or your husband or your accountant or to the mirror, or you don't have to come on here and call me by the wrong name and get pissed off at me. You just take control of your own life. You be an alpha rather than a beta. All right, let me see what else I have for you. I really have no idea. It was important at the time. I think some of this is repetitive, but I asked, what is inference? Inference is the phase where a trained AI model is actually used. So they've been training for a while. And I think they've put out these models that we can essentially use for free to help train them, and then they're going to charge us. Inference is the phase where a trained AI model is actually used to generate outputs or decisions on new real-world data. Real world is RailEngine. It is AI in production. AI in production. And it is where almost all economic value latency, safety, and cost trade-offs materialize. Inference is where Railtown is, and it's where almost all economic value sits. What is inference and why it matters? In training, you teach a model using historical data. In inference, that trained model is applied to fresh inputs, a user question, an image, a sensor stream, to produce predictions or actions. Inference is where user experience, speed, accuracy, reliability, and unit economics, cost per query, GPU, CPU utilization are determined. So optimizing inference is central. Optimizing inference, that's Railtown, is central to making AI products scalable, responsive, and profitable. That's Railtown. Because inference happens continuously, that's RailEngine. At scale, that's Railtown. Orchestration and framework layers, that's Railtown. That route, monitor, and control inference workloads are critical to reliability, safety, cost control in real deployments. That's Railtown. A simple example, training a vision model to recognize defects is one-off CapEx. Running it on every part on every line 24/7 is inference. That is where orchestration and optimization really matter. Guys, it's really powerful. So I asked about RIM. Public sources show Mike, I misspelled it, I can never get it right, as the co-founder and longtime CEO of Research in Motion, BlackBerry. He's widely credited with revolutionizing mobile email and secure wireless communications. During his tenure, RIM scaled from a small wireless email startup to a global smartphone leader, generating many billions in revenue from carrier relationships, enterprise contracts, and device server sales before it declined. I asked what kind of revenue, what kind of contract. He didn't get this. This didn't find anything. So this computer assumes I was asking what it implies for Railtown. Exactly. So what could Mike and RIM bring to Railtown? He couldn't get D to deal things, but building a platform around a critical control point. Research in Motion turns secure mobile email and device management into indispensable enterprise and carrier platforms, bundling relevant capabilities. So they built, is this the one I should be on? No, I should be on. I'm going back S-word. Did you notice that? Going back S-word. So let me start at the beginning, because the beginning is a really good place to start. This is where I think it's repetitive. 34? No, not really. All right, so sorry, I got a little out of sequence, but you guys got fast brains. The orchestration framework layer is emerging as one of the most strategically important layers in sovereign AI stacks, because it's where control, governance, and sovereignty over models, data, and infrastructure are actually exercised. The orchestration layer decides which models run where, how data moves, how workloads are scheduled, and how policies are enforced across cloud, on-prem, and edge. For sovereign AI, regulators and governments increasingly view sovereignty as control over execution and governance. Control over execution and governance, not just owning a model or a data center. If the orchestrator is a foreign software company or tied to a single hyperscaler, you have not achieved real sovereignty. This layer, orchestration, is where jurisdictions, data residency constraints, auditability, and security policies are encoded, which is precisely what middle powers and blocs, the EU, the Gulf, India, are now prioritizing in AI sovereignty policy packages. How hot is it? Dedicated AI orchestration is now recognized as a distinct market with its own targeted market, its annual revenue. Recent forecasts put the global AI orchestration market at 11 billion USD last year, growing to 30 billion by the end of the decade. The growth rate is faster in many categories. That growth rate is faster than many mature software companies, and the growth rate aligns with broader enterprise AI platform spending, suggesting strong quote unquote picks and shovels dynamics around orchestration. In other words, if you want to make money in AI, sell the data centers and the users orchestration. That's Railtown. Policy and compliance drivers are explicitly pushing demand for orchestrators that can enforce governance across heterogeneous models and infrastructures, which is why several vendors now specifically market as sovereign AI orchestration or sovereign agentic platforms. This is the AI Act in Europe, sector rules in finance, health, defense, for example. In venture terms, venture capital terms, this is becoming recognized as a category, but with stronger regulatory tailwind. Market size, baseline AI orchestration, and total addressable market. We already said that 11 billion growing to 30 billion. The sovereign grade or jurisdiction specific slice, government, defense, critical infrastructure, regulated industries, is smaller in absolute terms, but higher margin, and it's going to grow more quickly. Let's see what it says if I have it. Smaller in absolute terms, but likely higher margin and stickier as switching costs on governance platforms are high. As more states and blocs define their own sovereign stacks, a non-trivial share of AI infrastructure spend will flow through orchestration that is certified or attested for specific regimes, which amplifies strategic value even if direct license revenue is a fraction of total AI spend. If you assume orchestration retains something like a quote-unquote control plane tax on a rising portion of AI workloads, it can scale with overall AI compute and app spend rather than just with seat licenses. And then I asked like Wix, that's before. And it talks about negativity. I'm going to skip it. I read it to you before. It's not that I'm hiding. All right. It's still negative, but let's look at what it's saying. In order for Railtown to have a Wix-like outcome, let's look what it's saying has to happen. And I suggest to you these things are going to happen. The orchestration layer would need to become the de facto control service surface, for a very large number of organizations, AI workloads. I believe that's going to happen. This would be analogous to Wix becoming the default for a broad class of SMB websites. Railtown or any single vendor would need to capture a leading share of that orchestration addressable market. I think they're going to do that because they're on top of TELUS, and then that proves the concept, and they'll be on top of Microsoft and Amazon and et cetera around the world. Billions in ARR potential on a 30 billion USD market. Well, let me just point out, if Railtown did 1 billion in annual recurring revenue, 1 billion, and it's growing, and you put a 35x on it, that's a $35 billion company. You have and I'm not promising you that. I'm just doodling on my calculator. But if you put that up to what Railtown's share base is, that's a $155 stock. Do you see what it's saying here? Billions in AR potential. Anyway, that's what Railtown would need to do. I think it can establish strong distribution into sovereign sensitive customers, governments, regulated industries. I think Railtown could do that, and or create a high volume product-led motion in the long tail of enterprises. That long tail of enterprises is going to happen by definition as TELUS brings $2 billion in customers' revenue to the data center. Railtown would have to navigate competition from hyperscalers' native tools and from open, self-hosted orchestrators marketed as sovereign. And that's right, there is competition. And I wonder, Google probably will be off in its own world, but they may want Railtown, who knows? And yes, there's competition. So if the space is huge, my argument, and Railtown were truly first with the most, my words, in the specific sovereign AI orchestration niche, a multi-billion valuation is conceptually possible. Of course, the current data doesn't show it, and that's why you're able to buy the stock so inexpensively. As soon as the concept is proven on the TELUS data center, it's not 40 cents anymore. Oh, I deleted that? Why did I delete it? All right. Hysteria helps orchestration. I'm going to delete it. I don't know why I deleted the other one, but all right. If there's hysteria, which war is, you're going to have mandated control planes. You're going to have budgets reallocated, and you're going to have vendor concentration. So anyway, that's all big. I'm not going to read it. How big could it be relative if Railtown did 250 million in annual recurring revenue? Current AI orchestration market forecasts hit 30 billion by the end of this decade. If fear and regulation push more workloads into governed agentic frameworks, that addressable market could expand, or it could shift from raw infra to the control plane software spend. In software as a solution, a vendor with that 250 million ARR and strong growth and mission criticality, high retention, you could see 20 to 25x. With genuine hysteria, you could see more. Remember, when I calculate it at $1 a share, it's not hard arithmetic. If you reduce it to $1 a share, it's easy to put multiples on it and come up with stock prices. All right, it's not going to be automatic. We get that. All right, this gets back to Mike. So he turned secure mobile email and device management into indispensable enterprise and carrier platform, bundling hardware, software, and services into long-term high-margin contracts. NVIDIA seems to be trying to do that. TELUS seems to be trying to do that. But Railtown is the software, or part of it. Deep experience with secure, always-on infrastructure. BlackBerry's value rested on secure, low latency. In other words, there weren't a lot of delays. Push infrastructure and carrier-grade reliability. Competencies that map conceptually to building robust, observable, low latency inference and orchestration backbones. At scale, RIM's revenue engine depended on complex, multi-stakeholder deals, governments, enterprises, carriers, and long sales cycles, which is similar to the kind of strategic, sovereign, or regulated sector relationships Railtown will need for its orchestration safety layer. Recent coverage explicitly frames Lazaridis and co-founder Doug Fragan as leading investors' advisors in Railtown's capital raises and governance, bringing credibility in Canadian tech enterprise markets and secure communication style infrastructure. In practical terms, the relevance is less about specific contracts, etc., at BlackBerry, and more about Mike's track record building a mission-critical control platform with sticky, recurring revenue and deep relationships with risk-sensitive customers. Patterns Railtown is trying to recreate in the AI inference orchestration layer. That, my friends, is powerful. 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 So meanwhile, TELUS has been very active, making sure we know that, I wanted to read this to you. I'm not going to do it today. I read it to you before. I'm going to leave it up here so I don't forget. But TELUS is very active, letting us know that TELUS Digital has opened a Romania community board, and it's TELUS Digital Romania Foundation launches first grant sessions of 26. So this is something very important for our investment. TELUS Digital Romania Community Board remains dedicated to supporting local communities by offering non-governmental organizations in Romania the chance to access funding for their initiatives in education, health, and environmental sectors. So if you want to read more about it, that's there. And TELUS has been working on going through its backlog of news announcements. They've also announced today, yesterday, TELUS Originals unveils a new documentary slate ahead of a spring pitch intake. So they're getting this out there. Important news TELUS wants you to know. TELUS Originals has unveiled a new slate of 10 documentary projects from British Columbia and Alberta, exploring themes including aging with dignity, mental well-being, biodiversity, and belonging. So anyway, if you want to read more about that, you can look it up, but it's good to know that TELUS is making the important announcements. We're proud to support a slate of films that reflects the depth of documentary talent in British Columbia and Alberta. So that's important. It's really important for TELUS to keep us updated on all that. Let's see what all this is. This is going to be the last batch that I go through, or I might not if it's repetitive. All right, this is the comparison of Confluent with Kafka. And I said, are they competitors or are they pals? And the answer came, they're more potential pals than direct competitors. Confluent is a core streaming infrastructure, while Railtown sits upstack as an AI observability layer that could easily run on top of Confluent rather than replace it. An eventual tuck-in style M&A, merger and acquisition, by Confluent or a larger observability dev tools player is plausible if Railtown proves out its IP and revenue, but it's not obvious as a near-term must-buy. Well, that's right. They haven't turned on that data center yet. That's why the stock is 35 cents. So what each does, Confluent, it's managed Kafka-based streaming platform. So Confluent is a managed Kafka-based streaming platform which moves and processes real-time data with 120 plus connectors and growing AI-oriented integrations, positioning itself as, quote unquote, the central nervous system for real-time apps and agents. They are now explicitly pitching real-time data as food for agentic AI and workflow automation. Now listen to what Railtown does. Railtown AI, it's AI as software and agentic frameworks focused on software development and observability. Railtown AI ingests tickets, builds, deploys, logs, and access source code to detect issues, prioritize errors, and automate parts of the CI/CD and dev workflow. Their Conductr models and Railtracks frameworks are about orchestrating AI agents over dev tooling data to improve developer productivity. So, Confluent moves. That's funny. A lot of people's movements end up as Confluent in the rivers and streams of our country. Anyway, Confluent moves and shapes streams. Railtown makes a specific slice of that data useful for DevOps teams. via domain-specific AI. And I suggest to you, this is not big enough yet because not even these Google searches pick up on the magnitude of what's coming. But it's still big. Even so, Confluent's market cap is around 10 to 11 billion USD. Railtown is a micro cap. Okay, we know that. This reflects Confluent has a large install base, infrastructure level revenue, high switching costs, and clear place in the cloud data stack. I suggest to you this right here, this is going to be true of Railtown in the next 90 days. It could be longer. And somebody will come on and say, I said 90 days, and it really turned out to be 52 days. But anyway, I think you're going to see that Railtown has a large install base, infrastructure level revenue, high switching costs, and clear place in the cloud data stack. You don't see it right now. That's why you act, and you can buy it at 34 cents because the world doesn't know it now. You do. Act. All right, so Railtown right now is a niche product, earlier adoption, more concentrated use case in engineering productivity and observability. Yes, but they're on the top of TELUS. All right, competitors or buddies. Why they mostly complement each other. The architectural layer. Confluent is data plumbing. Ooh, gross. Railtown is an application service sitting on top of logs, tickets, code, CI/CD metadata, which can be delivered via or alongside Kafka streams. I guess that's why it's called plumbing, logs and streams. Confluent's AI push is horizontal. It lets any AI / agents consume streams. It's not focused on deep dev tools semantics the way Railtown is. A typical stack could be product telemetry, Kafka / Confluent, next data lake warehouse, plus observability pipelines, and then Railtown for AI-driven error, intelligence, and dev workflow. What actually competes with Railtown? For observability, who actually competes? For observability, Era Intelligence, Datadog, New Relic, Dynatrace, and OTel native players like Chronosphere, or Signas, are much closer as category peers. For DevOps productivity AI agents, GitHub Copilot, that's Microsoft, Atlassian's AI, Sentry, Linear AI, and emerging agentic platforms in CI/CD and incident management are in the same budget and buyer conversation. Who competes with Confluent? Manage Kafka and Kafka compatible streams. Amazon MSK, Avon, Red Panda, WarpStream, purpose-built solutions, and some cloud-native alternatives. Data platforms moving up into real-time AI. Snowflake, Datadog, and cloud providers are explicitly mentioned as competitors in the real-time AI workloads narrative. So they live in adjacent but distinct markets and could happily coexist in the same account. Railtown and Kafka, this other one, Confluent. M&A scenarios, most realistic paths. Railtown as a target, near term. Logical acquirers, an observability player, Datadog, New Relic, Dynatrace, Hotel Native, upstarts wanting differentiated AI agents over dev and app data. I would submit it could be the other way around. Railtown, if my targets hit, if they do 240 million exiting 27, that's mine. You've heard me say that number for weeks now. If you divide it by 12, that's 20 million a month in cash flow. I would argue they'd be the buyer. A DevTools suite, a DevTools suite, GitHub, Atlassian, GitLab, Hashi, Corp-like, bundling. Anyway, rationale, buyer gets agentic IP plus focused product that plugs into their much larger data and customer footprint. Well, guess what? That might get flipped tits over heels. Number two, Confluent as an acquirer. That's possible, but not core to Confluent's thesis. The fit is that Confluent is pushing into AI coordination layer on a real-time data. And Railtown provides a verticalized working example for DevOps use cases. I can't make that make sense. Pros, shows how streams lead to AI agents, leads to concrete reductions in outages and tech debt. Good story for real-time AI workflows. Cons, Confluent has to stay platform neutral. Well, Railtown's platform neutral and not spook partners. Railtown doesn't spook partners. Assimilating a niche dev tool may distract from infra and broader AI ecosystem bets. This is a misreading of the system, I think, situation. Much more likely in the short run, Railtown as a Confluent partner, which consumes Kafka streams, log events, and markets Confluent plus Railtown bundles for engineering orgs. That's possible. Key thing is Railtown and Confluent are not competitors. If usage and revenue scale through that channel, then you get the usual, we should just own this conversation. My framing, one moves data, one makes it useful. In other words, Confluent moves the data, Railtowns makes it useful, is pretty accurate. And it lines up with how Confluent now talks about being AI streaming substrat and how Railtown pitches agentic frameworks on the top of dev and app data. Railtown already has the deal you're describing. I don't know what I described. No major observability or dev tool competitor. Oh, I said, do any of the competitors, are they sitting on top of a data center? So Railtown already has that deal. And to date, no major observability or dev tool competitor is publicly positioned as sitting on top of the TELUS Sovereign AI Factory, NVIDIA Stack, and Rimouski in the same way. What Railtown has and others don't. Railtown's position announced a collaboration where Railtown deploys its agentic software development platform on top of TELUS Sovereign AI Factory, Rimouski, and its NVIDIA-powered stack. Is focused on Canadian software teams and keeping code and intellectual property on Canadian soil. The narrative is explicitly, quote, agentic dev tools on sovereign NVIDIA infrastructure, unquote, with TELUS as the sovereign AI factory and Railtown as the AI layer, which will ride the ramp of GPU-driven workloads on the rump of TELUS data center and new customers. There are competitors positioning. OpenText is named as a stack level partner, but it rides on the same sovereign AI factory as a platform for OpenText's own enterprise AI cloud, Aviator AI, but not as an observability or error intelligence layer sitting on top of the AI stack for dev teams. Other observability and dev players, Datadog, Sentry style tools, New Relic, are not mentioned as partners building agentic dev or error intelligent tools on the Rimsky sovereign stack. They may be used downstream, but they are not tied to the sovereign AI factory as a branded, embedded layer the way Railtown is. In other words, please be true. In other words, I love you. In other words, Railtown appears to have a unique first mover, revenue sharing adjacent seat at the table on the TELUS NVIDIA sovereign stack, while its peers are peering from the sideline, are either in the broader TELUS ecosystem, like OpenText, or operating alongside the factory without the saying, quote, this is our AI dev layer on Rimsky, unquote, positioning. So I think this is powerful stuff that you know. Railtown is likely getting what Railtown is likely getting, more than just customers. In the context of the TELUS Rimsky Sovereign AI Factory, Railtown is positioned as, bing, an embedded AI layer running on top of NVIDIA-powered GPU capacity that TELUS is selling to Canadian enterprises and public sector clients. Bing, a per customer or per usage sauce layer that rides on the GPU time and AI workloads that TELUS builds, rather than just selling a standalone SaaS license. So economically, the value proposition is TELUS sells sovereign GPU capacity plus AI-ready infrastructure. Customer pays X dollars per GPU hour API call project. Railtown supplies agentic dev tools such as bug fixing, finding, CI/CD automation, error intelligence. And the customer either pays Railtown directly. That's not true. We know that's not true. Railtown gets a revenue share. That's what we know from other presentations. Revenue share and pass-through from TELUS as an add-on on top of the sovereign AI stack. Even if the exact percentage isn't public, the market typically thinks in buckets. All right, let's go think in buckets. Embedded software platform add-ons on GPU cloud stacks often sit in the 5 to 20% of the underlying GPU AI workload bill. So I guess my number is at the high end. Depends on stickiness. Well, it's very sticky. Differentiation, I think it's very different. And who owns the customer contract? I don't know about that. But also the margin is very high. For a stack like this, you'd expect Railtown to be nearer the 5 to 10% band initially, climbing if they prove they cut outages, reduce dev rework, and become a quote unquote must have for TELUS enterprise AI customers. If TELUS is talking billions in sovereign AI revenue over the coming years, which is the narrative, it's what they're saying, even a 5% share on a $2 billion annual sovereign AI related stack gives Railtown $100 million per year at the top of the stack, potentially growing to $200 million. That is a very different starting point than a pure observability player who just sells agents and dashboards and doesn't ride on the ship fantasy and doesn't have the GPU cloud moat. How does this compare to a pure observability competitor? Take a Datadog platform. Datadog charges per host, per log, per span, often with a high gross margin, but with no explicit tie-in to a sovereign GPU cloud infrastructure. Their revenue scales with overall app footprint and telemetry volume, not with a sovereign AI GPU stack, which is being sold as a national security style project. So you look at these metrics, Railtown on the left, a typical competitor, observability competitor like Datadog on the right. Revenue base. Railtown rides on the big daddy TELUS. The other is just, selling as comes. Upside, national security style, political tailwind, made in Canada, sovereign stack. I think that's a big tailwind. Revenue share, 5 to 10%, but it might grow. Margin profile, high margin, but it's embedded in a larger GPU AI bill. But it has high strategic stickiness. In the case of the competitors, there's no sovereign stack lock-in. There's no revenue share. So it's different. Million-man army. Iran claims 1 million fighters are primed for U.S. invasion. Swell. This is all swell. That's my opinion. It's all swell. So from an investor lens, Railtown's setup looks like leveraging a sovereign GPU stack to create a quote-unquote must-have dev tool layer that can be bundled into every TELUS sovereign AI deal. Huge. Not just a point product, but a platform layer that can be priced as a percentage of the larger GPU AI bill, giving it a natural path. Do you see that? Giving it a natural path, Railtown, a natural path to hundreds of millions in revenue If TELUS hits TELUS's sovereign AI targets, hundreds of millions. What multiples could this support? If you assume Railtown can land a 5 to 10% share of the sovereign AI related workloads via TELUS and TELUS's Canadian customers, then ramp that to 100 million, 200 million a year over the next 5 to 7 years, I think that's really stretching it out. You are effectively valuing a high growth software as an AI tool company with strong moat, strong barrier to entry, sovereign AI stack, agentic IP, TELUS brand, high gross margins, 100%, clear path to profitability if revenue scales. Right away, it's profitable. In that world, the market would likely price Railtown closer to observability style SaaS multiples, 10 to 20x. I think that's low. Once it's in that range, depending on growth and profitability, I suggest to you this is all going to change once the concept is proven. But you've got to get on the train before the concept is proven. So if Railtown can prove that it can monetize the sovereign AI stack at even a modest percentage, scale customers through TELUS's existing enterprise base, which is huge, and Railtown scales, then Railtown's revenue multiple could look a lot more like Datadog and New Relic style valuations, even if the absolute revenue is smaller than the giants. How to think about revenue share to Railtown. If TELUS is driving billions in sovereign AI revenue through its Rimouski data center and Kamloops, let's assume 2 billion by the end of the decade. I think it's going to be much sooner but anyway, let's go with it. Railtown could be 5% of that. I think it's going to be 20% or 100 million a year. If it's all high margin, then even a $1 billion valuation for the revenue implies 10x revenue. Oh, I see. 10x, 1 billion is a billion versus 100 million a year. So that's 10x, which is well inside typical SaaS style multiples for high growth AI native platform. Well, a $1 billion valuation for Railtown is less than LangChain, and it's about $4 and no, it's about it's almost $5 a share. It's almost $5 a share. I'd say $4.75, $4 and something like that. If the market thinks Railtown can expand beyond TELUS, yes, it will, to other sovereign AI stacks, global cloud partners, keep the same percentage of the stack, then the valuation upside is much larger than a pure observability player that doesn't have that sovereign GPU cloud tailwind. Do you see what you've got to do? You've got to get on the train before the proof of concept comes in. And that proof of concept, I know I've been saying it's going to be the first quarter. It's not going to be the first quarter. Sorry about that. But we're getting closer to the destination. It's probably second quarter. You got to get on board. And I don't think the stock price is going to stay down until that's proven. The hubbub, people talk. Bottom line, Railtown's deal gives Railtown a unique embedded position on a sovereign AI GPU stack that is being sold as a national security style product, a moat that its pure observability competitors simply do not have. Revenue share is likely 5 to 10%. I think it's double that of the sovereign AI workload bill, which could scale to hundreds of millions if TELUS hits its sovereign AI targets. We may never know what that is, but the analysts will. Valuation could then converge toward observability style SaaS multiples, even if the absolute revenue is smaller than the GEONs. All right. So it says, yes, you're right. A licensing deal with a revenue split. I didn't ask that, but I might have asked, describe what other, what other ways to, anyway. Here's the answer. You're right. A licensing deal with a revenue split is, in fact, the usual economic model here, not a pure we sell seats and that's it. It's not using any of my words, so whatever. In this context, Railtown is almost certainly looking at a per-use license on top of Teles's sovereign GPU stack. The computer came up with this, with some kind of revenue sharing on the underlying AI workload bill, compute, agents, or both. What a licensing plus revenue split structure usually looks like. Typical pattern in GPU cloud sovereign stack ecosystems. Teles would bill the customer for GPU time, AI inference, training, and per agent execution. That's the main bill that the customer gets. And then Railtown, the software layer, licenses its agentic framework, Conductr Railtracks, to Teles or to customers via Teles. A contract then defines a per CPU, GPU hour license fee, or a percentage of the AI workload bill, or a hybrid. Okay. Well, I didn't know all that. This is exactly the kind of structure you see in cloud native SaaS sitting on top of Amazon, Azure, and Google GPU stacks. ISVs on sovereign cloud or telco hosted AI factories like Teles, that's exactly what they do. Several of Railtown's own disclosures and partner announcements explicitly mention revenue sharing models with partners, not just pure SaaS licenses. So the split language, I might have said split, language you're thinking of is consistent with their stated playbook. Who controls the contract and where the split lives? I didn't ask that, but I'm glad they're answering it. Two common flavors. The Teles direct model, more likely for sovereign stack deals. Teles signs the customer, bundles Railtown AI's dev tools into Sovereign AI Studio AI Factory. Teles pays Railtown a revenue share of the AI workload bill tied to Railtown powered agents. I think that's right. I just think it's a bigger split, but I don't know. This is simpler for the customer, one bill, and stickier for Railtown because it's embedded in the sovereign stack. Another model is a co-sell pass-through model. Let's see what that is. Railtown signs its own SaaS agreement with the enterprise, but usage is metered through Teles's sovereign stack. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Teles passes usage data and may take a small cut for billing, hosting, support, or sovereignty. I don't know. That gets complicated. So in other words, Railtown has to bill all of Teles's customers? That doesn't sound right. Either way, the core is the same. Railtown gets paid as a percentage of the AI compute or the AI agent workload, not just a flat subscription. 3, why this is better than a pure observability style SaaS model. Most observability tools, Datadog-like vendors, are pure software, per host, per log, per span pricing. No explicit tie to a GPU or AI workload. They just monitor whatever's running. Railtown's position on the Thales Sovereign AI Factory changes that. Railtown licenses its agentic framework to sit on top of the sovereign GPU stack. The revenue split is tied to the sovereign AI workload. How many AI agents run, how much GPU time they use. That means Railtown's economic scale with the GPU AI stack, not just with general app infra. So if Thales is driving billions in sovereign AI revenue through its Rimouski and Kamloops data center, and Railtown is getting a split of that, they say 5 to 10%. I would rather look at it as 10 to 20% via a revenue share licensing model. Then even if the absolute revenue is smaller than a pure observability giant, the growth potential and the strategic stickiness are much higher because Railtown is embedded in the sovereign AI stack. How to think about split economics in numbers. Let's say Thales Sovereign AI stack is $2 billion a year by the end of the decade. Railtown gets 5 to 10%. I think it's going to be more via revenue share. That's 100 to 200 million per year in revenue for Railtown tied to the sovereign stack. That is a huge number for a pure SaaS AI tool company, especially if it's high margin. What's higher than 100%? High margin software riding on top of a software GPU cloud moat. Bottom line, you are spot on. A licensing deal with a revenue split is the usual and the most likely structure here. It's win-win. I don't remember asking that question. I think they came up with the framework of the discussion. Thales gets a richer agentic AI stack to sell to Canadian enterprises. Railtown gets revenue that scales with the AI sovereign GPU stack. Then Railtown's valuation should be thought of more like a high growth software as an AI tool company with a sovereign GPU cloud moat, not just a pure observability vendor. So that's some big stuff that's being said right there. And you know it. You can act on it. You can act on it. You can act on it. Hopefully this is it. Three more pages. We already looked at that one. We already looked at all of those. Okay, good. So we're done. We're done for today. It looks like the war is just going to get worse and worse. So I don't know what to tell you about that. I really don't know what to tell you. Aw, that's so nice. An ICE agent saved a baby's life at JFK. Look at this hassle. A Maryland homeowner hires a roofing crew, and then they call ICE on them. It's a woman. President Trump pauses Iranian energy plant destruction, announces new deadline. Well, there's hope. There's hope. Trump to unlock 1 trillion gold opportunity? That sounds like our gold company. Do you know if they find 200 million ounces of gold, and it could be much more, believe it or not, it sounds insane. It sounds just insane. It could be 250, it could be more than that. And gold goes to 10,000. You're looking at $2 trillion. $2 trillion. All right, let me go to the comments. Bob's, did someone erase my comment? No, not, well, maybe. I didn't. So put it up again. I don't know is my answer. Maybe there's somebody in there. I don't know who it could be. E. Belanger, I love it. 61 more small cows. I love it. Ricky Brogan, thank you, Donna. Got my order filled at 5 of 4. They gave me a better price. Order at 31.40, filled at 31.20. Yeah, they don't want to show. They don't want to show. They don't, you know. I don't know if it's for the computers or to show you. They just don't want to show it going up. Congratulations to all that is holding Railtown. I agree, Ricky. Ward Richardson. Good morning, William and RT Kroom. Word is out there. Cash cows are on sale. Stock up, everyone. Get them while supplies last. Ward Richardson. E. Belanger, 73. Those 61 calves will grow to compound-sized cash cows. Ward Richardson, congratulations to all buying and holding onto their herd. I like that, Ward. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right, there's 4 minutes to 5:30. Let me just see if there's anything going on in the news. I know you guys want to watch basketball. So much noise upstairs. Sounds like an argument. I hope there's no guns involved. There's a little baby crying. All right, so I'm going to do once again, so you guys know where to find it. It's the end of the month. And frankly, I have an overdraft in my bank account from the automatic payments for several of these things that keep this live. It feels like I just asked for this, but it's been a month. So I'm going to put up my Venmo and my Zelle. If you can help, great. If you can't, I'm not, no hard feelings. I don't think we're going to have to wait much longer for traction. Now, the movement might in the stock price might not come as quickly as I feel like it can come, but it can come really quickly. Let me just put it up while I talk. That is my Zelle, so it's harder to talk with my Zelle up. That's Zell. Um, uh, the second quarter starts on Wednesday, and I think it's reasonable to assume that Railtown, well, I don't know that Railtown's in control of its own destiny unless they're in some, they have other deals going on. That might be different. But it's probably TELUS, but we don't know. Fact is, we don't know. So anyway, I would imagine that TELUS wants to get going in the second quarter. I think from a Railtown standpoint, I think everybody involved is taking the attitude that it's better to do it right than it is to try to day manipulate the price of the stock. So they're comfortable if it takes instead of the first quarter, it's the second quarter before things can happen. But frankly, they've got 6 million in cash. They can wait. They can make it through a month, through 2 months, through 3 months, through 4 months. So there's no risk of a toxic financing coming in and destroying our Shangri-La. All right, that's 5:30. I'm going to take that off. Now I'm going to put on my Venmo. So the point is that while some of you might be anxious day to day, I want like Richard, the Eeyore of the community. When's it going to move? I've been in it for 5 months. I wonder, he's probably banging on his mother's womb. I've been in here for 3 months. When am I going to be born? Anyway, I think it's sensible for the company to take the time to make sure everything's right. They're going to have to live with whatever's going on for the rest of their lives. So are we. So I think I'm fine. I wasn't, and it's stressful, and you'd second guess yourself, but I'm pleased to know that things are getting better. The story's getting huge, not only because of Railtown, it's because the whole AI space is growing like a kudzu. What's that weed down in the south? It's just growing unbelievably. And NVIDIA, for example, has a huge valuation, and it's in the lead because of its chips. But you know as well as I do that there was a time when Pentium inside was all the rage. So NVIDIA's looking at adding all of the other parts. NVIDIA's looking at not just selling the Rolls-Royce engine, they're looking at all the components and being able to sell the Rolls-Royce and service it. And in that situation, Railtown takes a premier position. So my contention to you is that Railtown's going to prove that it was in fact first, it is best in class, and it's going to prove that it is critical. It may not be the only one, like I don't know what's a good example. If you go and buy, it's how it used to be. I don't know how it is now. But if you go to Kmart to buy your paint, it's going to take 2 or 3 coats to put it on the wall. If you spend a little more and go to Duron, you can do it in 1 coat. Benjamin Moore, 1 coat. It depending. I mean, everything's depends on that. But the point is, there may be competition, but there's the best, and the most effective, and then there's competition. And I think Railtown is going to be, this is my thesis. You don't have to agree with it, but I think Railtown is going to be the layer that makes that data center and that NVIDIA chip and that large language model useful to the user. And if it becomes that, where it is the easiest to use as well as the most critical component compared to others of the competition, I think you're going to see Railtown become a worldwide story. It's going to be a thunderclap. And, a few more minutes, a few more weeks, it'll spread around the world like wildfire. So what I'm trying to say is that the move to $5 if it comes, the move to $10 if it comes, the move to $15 if it comes, the move to $20 if it comes, the move to $25 if it comes, is not necessarily the last stop. It's not where you have to hop off. Now, we do have to monitor everything. We do have to be informed. But at this point in time, my thesis is Railtown is going to be the highly sought after layer for data centers around the world. And when you start putting in trillions of dollars, if that article I want to reread to you, I already read it to you once, Anthropic, their tokens apparently are going to be the standard. Now that may change, but when you have agents, agentic AI working with other agents, and you skip the human being altogether, you're going to have this layer or a brand new internet that's going to be running 24/7, and it's not going to have all the pretty interfaces we need. But those agents, those agentic tools are going to spend tokens. And the international, I don't know what to call it, the international spend on all goods and services is something like $40 trillion. Well, you can imagine a world where Anthropic takes up if it is the standard, takes up a huge portion of that as spending. Software is the world's largest industry. Software is going to take over everything. It is robotics. Robotics are going to take over the husband in the home. Robotics are going to take over for the soldier in the field. Robotics are going to allow women to run the world if they want to. For example, self-driving cars. Self-driving cars. This can all be done agent to agent. You don't need a human. You do need control layer, which is Railtown, to make sure it doesn't spend you blind. But it is possible that these tokens become the de facto currency that Bitcoin thought that it was going to be. These tokens could be money. They could be the cigarettes in a prison. Anyway, if that all happens, you're 40 trillion? I don't know what the cut is. I don't know what MasterCard charges, what exchange banks charge. Who knows what the friction is on that? But it's happening. It's not one trade. It's happening back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Edwina Beckenbull. So in that kind of world, you can imagine that Railtown could get bloody rich. And it may well be a unicorn. But anyway, let's play it out. I just wouldn't be in a hurry to take your profits. And remember today, at the end of the day, I showed you the volume is 1.3 thousand. Just remember that. When these criminals stop playing their reindeer games, you might not be able to buy in size. Go try to buy in. Well, right now it's under pressure, but during the heyday, go and buy size in Constellation software. I doubt you could. That could happen in Railtown. So you, like Ward said, you're going to want to cling to your calves because they're going to grow up to be steers. You know, there's only two things in Texas, son: steers and queers. And I don't see any steers. That's so bad. That's so bad. All right, so let's end on Ward's. Let's end on Ward's congratulations to all buying and holding on to their herd. As I've taken to doing recently, and I sincerely mean it, I pray for peace for each of you, even if we got into contretemps. And I pray for peace in the Middle East. I pray for the children and the civilians in Israel in particular. And I pray for the children and civilians in Iran and the rest of the Middle East, Ukraine. I think just in general, we should be praying for the welfare of children around the world. It's kind of scary, some of the stuff you read. So anyway, I pray for peace for each of you, and I pray for peace in the world. And we'll get back together tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in. Cheers.